I've had different interactions with different lawyers. You just mentioned AI and their faces just change. Like you just know this person does not want, like if you go into an interview, that person is sat and you say AI, you know you're not getting the job.
Yes.
That's how bad it gets. Hello everyone and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. It's your favorite girl here, Ella, law student, no, not law student, GPLLM candidate at the University of Toronto. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I discuss all things law and share my journey with you all trying to become a licensed lawyer out here in the province of Ontario, Canada. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for riding with me through this journey. If you haven't done so, remember to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I post my videos. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section while watching or at the end of the video. Today, we are joined back by Amin. If you haven't seen our first video or videos, depending on when I edit, with Amin, please be sure to watch them. I'll link it up somewhere here to learn more about Amin and his experiences. But primarily in today's video, we're going to be talking about whether or not AI is going to break the legal system, looking at the future of AI and law and tech and how all of that marries into the system that we're experiencing today. Amin, can you let us know how your journey to merging AI and law has been, and like what gaps do you see in the law that and the world of AI that we live in at this point in time?
Yeah, so I've been working in the tech field. I was a management consultant in the Big Four. I was a partner at a Big Four firm where I've always spent a lot of my career in advanced technologies as they emerge. So I spent, when cloud technology came out in 2007, I was one of the first individuals in an organization to be able to adopt that. We actually ended up setting up a kind of a journey with Amazon. And a guy named Mike Culver, he was an evangelist of this new cloud technology. Poor Mike passed away a few years ago, but this was when cloud was just coming out, and it revolutionized the advances that we see in technology today. It led to the creation of SaaS companies and SaaS offerings, software as a service, because it allowed companies to scale in a way that, the financial model is kind of questionable in terms of value, because it can be more expensive than buying your own hardware, but it did shift what companies needed to focus on. You didn't have to go and build infrastructure and data centers and hardware. You could scale a lot faster. It revolutionized business and in that world. And then fast forward to 2013 to 2017, AI starts becoming more mainstream, commercialized and available beyond the academic world and research world. And all of a sudden, you've got a technology that potentially has, that has the potential to change our way of working in the world. But it really didn't happen until probably closer to 2022. ChatGPT comes on there, and people kind of realize, like, I can talk to something that's got the access to a wealth of information, and no longer have to just do Google searches, right? and it can contextualize and it can create, and then the acceleration from there to 2026. Has been revolutionary. And so I've been working with a lot of this technology for a very long time. And when I decided to start doing my law degree, because of my journey of doing multiple law degrees at the same time, I did my LLB and my master's, one of the first things that I heavily leveraged was AI to be able to synthesize, volumes of information, case law, documents, textbooks, different, all of it, right? Regulations, everything, and to come and to be able to generate content from those in a way that helps me learn. I've always been involved in this space, so I know how to put guardrails around it. I know how to validate. I know how to make sure it's not hallucinating. I know how to call it out when it's wrong. Like, that's just a experiential thing that I have because I've worked with technology for a long time. But there's been, we're now at a point of significant disruption, not just in legal, in practically every, whether it's financial services, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, research, logistics, like every single industry has a disruptive effect of AI. And it's so when I said it's just not yet another technology. This is at the core of how the world is going to operate. And so for me, that was actually part of the reason I decided to get into law, is because I have that experience and understanding and the technical depth to be able to bridge into law. And in fact, that's now part of my job in the current law firm that I'm working with, is promoting the vocabulary of AI, the issues and risk management, to our clients around AI. I write papers and some thought leadership around the impact of AI on the law. And I think our legal system, we often in some of our legal courses will look at, does the law need to change? And often the answer is no, because when we write law, usually it's considered to be long-lived and broad, still enough to be able, we have that doctrine of the living tree, but it's a tree, it grows slowly, it will expand where it needs to, but the idea is we don't want to keep reinventing law and not creating instability, right, in the legal system. AI, though, I think is that a technology that is evolving, where in certain instances of the law, when the law was written, it did not contemplate AI in the way that AI has evolved today in 2026. And because of that, there may be legislative requirements to change and adapt to certain applications of AI. Not all. I wrote a paper, I published on LinkedIn or whatever, around AI and privilege. My thesis in that was AI has the ability, depending on how it's used, to break privilege. It hasn't fully been tested in Canada, but based on some US case law that kind of aligns to the Canadian way. But the law itself is not necessarily at fault. It's just how we're applying, the law in the context of AI. Whereas I wrote another paper on AI and copyright. And in that case, to me, copyright laws were designed to protect intellectual property and give an advantage of, knowledge rights for a protected period of time to an individual, or that came up with that idea. So he came up with a great idea, but we want to spread knowledge to everybody, but we're going to protect your financial rights around this and certain rights around this for a period of time. And then knowledge is shared to everybody. The use of AI to create, and something we're all doing right now, has some major implications, because you can't, there are some theories on you can't really claim copyright or patents over substantially generated AI content. Well, guess what? Everything being generated by AI today, whether you like it or not, is being substantially generated based on how the law interprets it at this time. So what does that mean? That means that the only way we're going to right-size that is legislation has to change to change the law and how we interpret the application of AI to the generative, world. So to me, there's certain places where there's going to be legal disruption, and even in law, and we can talk more about that in terms of how we work. The readiness of students and how ready are they to enter the workforce coming out of school and being AI literate. And then all of those professionals who've been, used to working a certain way,
analog ways,
right, without AI, and all of a sudden it's like they either hate it or they're afraid of it or they are trying to adopt it. So.
Okay, thank you so much. You foreshadowed my next question, which is going to be, because you already spoke about the gaps that are already there in the system, and my next question following that was, will you say that every lawyer or law student now coming into the legal system should start getting into knowing what AI is and how it should be used and understanding how to use it? And the reason that I asked that question is because obviously I'm in the GPLLM program. There are either some people who like it or people who don't like it, people who are unsure, and then there are the extremes or extremists of people that don't want anything to do with it. I've had different interactions with different lawyers who are already maybe 15, 20 years in the field. You just mentioned AI and their faces just change. Like you just know this person does not want, like if you go into an interview, that person is sat and you say AI, you know you're not getting the job. That's how bad it gets. So right now, would you say that AI is here and it's something that anyone who is in the legal space should start getting an understanding of, and how can they navigate that?
Yeah, so I think on the face, the answer is 100% yes. Anybody who is exiting law school, entering, legal practice, must have AI literacy, but it doesn't stop there. The issue, sitting on the other side now, working at a law firm, is in order for a lawyer, you think about what is a lawyer really? We've had, tools and automation before we had Google, and before we had LexisNexis and Canly and all of these, electronification of
law and cases.
They would go to the library and they would look in a book. Okay.
Yeah.
So that process of finding the information, evaluating the information, applying that process hasn't changed. But these lawyers who've come up through that have developed instinct, experience. They were forced to think critically about that. And they've had the journey of time. We were talking about earlier about like compressing time. I think that's where AI can accelerate the process, right? Except it doesn't necessarily help develop judgment. Only time and experience and hands-on engagement with content and learning from others can help you do that.
Yeah.
But there is, to me, an acceleration. I've lived it, right? The fact that I was able to do 2 law degrees and work full-time is a testament to the fact that I do have the ability to learn quickly, but I was able to leverage AI to accelerate my learning, and kind of, I didn't have to go to a library to look in a book. I could just push a button and give me what I needed. You still have to have a healthy sense of skepticism and know what to look, what to challenge and be able to learn that process. But students who are exiting law schools right now, I'm finding some of the law schools are, as you said, they are AI friendly and they use AI, disclose the use of AI. I think the testing model is where they fit, where they are challenged and what scares them. Universities are going to have to change. There's no doubt about it. AI is not going away.
You're foreshadowing my.
Right?
I don't know. Are you reading these questions?
Oh no, I'm just talking. I'm just talking.
I want to keep going.
But it's a logical thread.
That was my next question. Were you there when I was coming up? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So the idea is like what we're seeing is, and it's interesting for law students. I think most law students are not necessarily technical, AI, computer scientists, engineers. There are. I've met many in our program who have engineering degrees or have done, our tech savvy. A lot, but the majority are English majors, poli-sci, history, social sciences, and maybe not as tech. All right. And then they exit law school and they go work for a law firm where the industry, whether the law firm likes it or not, is being significantly disrupted. Canly, right, our Canadian online legal platform, for case law and things like that, has built AI into their tool. Most law firms will use LexisNexis, and they got CoCounsel, and they got these other tools. And then there's all of the frontier cloud providers like Claude now has Claude Legal, and everybody's competing in that space and pushing these tools, Copilot directly towards law firms, right? So they're innately being disrupted. And now these partners and practitioners who maybe haven't used AI are looking at the incoming younger cohorts and going, okay, like use AI, but at the same time they also look at them and say, you don't know enough yet to know when you're right or wrong, or even how to prompt the right way. The quality of your prompts are shallow. They're not fully developed as a lawyer who would have asked the question had you just done it and gone through the experience. So that's a legitimate challenge, and I hear that from even practitioners that I work with. Like, how do we teach judgment? And so that's my role in the law firm that I work at, is to lead the adoption of AI to help the lawyers and older folks and partners in the firm adopt AI within the legal context. And I have some theories and ideas on that. But it's really how do students who are coming out meet the minimum level? Right? And I feel like they're not, because of this fear that the law schools have. And I think maybe your follow-up question is related to
that was literally, you've already answered the question. It's like, do you think that current law schools are even equipped to handle what AI is doing? in the system, or are we just playing catch up? Because yes, there are some courses that we've had. I think for my legal research and writing course, we had a vote to say whether we use AI or we don't use AI, or if we use AI, we disclose. So people went with the third option to say, if I use AI, I'll disclose. If I didn't use it, I'll disclose. So there's an air, I don't know, something in the air about AI that sometimes when it might not even be the professors, it might be the administrative wing of the universities, and they just don't want to know anything about AI. And I know this experience from like my experience at, for example, the University of Birmingham. I'm like, that wasn't really AI friendly at all. But I'm like, you're training students at this point. Are you training them for what happened 6 years ago, or are we going to train them for the future? And
this is it. I think, you know, the responsibility that the university has is to train, you know, provide legal education and legal reasoning and capability to their students. The fear is if they use AI, they are not going to think for themselves. They need to quickly, if they're going to stay relevant, adopt AI training deeply into their learning model. There's nothing with using AI to help you research, to accelerate and save you time, to help you learn. I'm ADHD. I've told my AI, I'm ADHD. Teach me this concept in a way that makes sense to my brain, and it will react to that. It will structure, you know, concepts and legal doctrines with examples.
Let's go.
All right. So we were talking about, you know, are law schools equipped to deal with AI? And so the issue is that, you know, they're trying to ensure students develop legal reasoning. Like that's the whole purpose. However, they're not doing their students any service, you know, by restricting them from understanding and leveraging AI, because when those students exit law school and go to the workforce, there's an expectation in law firms that these students understand the technology and understand AI. Those that can demonstrate to an employer that I've been trained in AI, I know how to use it, I can do research with it, they're the ones who are going to stand out. You know, there still has to be the development of reasoning and judgment. But if you think about where, you know, how does this all kind of fall together? I look at economics, right? This AI technology is ubiquitous. It's available to every client, irrespective of other legal issues that might occur. But every client has access to a ChatGPT, to a Claude, right? And they can ask legal questions now. And so that's a barrier that's been broken already. So now you are a client of a law firm who's charging you thousands of dollars an hour to provide you legal advice, and they're not using AI, so they can charge you more. Clients are like, no, I'd rather go somewhere that is going to leverage AI but still give me good legal advice. And so that expectation of the market is basically reaching into the law firm, and law firms are saying, okay, we have to adopt AI and still provide legal advice because I'm still responsible for everything that, you know, whether AI helped me or not.
It's on my license.
It's right, it's my risk to manage. But if I don't use AI and I bill my client too much, we're going to eventually lose. So they're being forced to adopt AI whether they like it or not. So that's kind of one piece. The second piece is just the quality, right? AI gives you access to a wealth of information that you could be the best lawyer in the world. But there's going to be case law. There's going to be new, you know, developments, new ways of thinking, new theories that an AI will be able to
get faster
consume
than you.
and provide that information to you for you to then reason over and say, does this actually make sense? And I've used that in a few places where I've been able to connect ideas together that are non-traditional, and it's like, oh, we could, you know, probably, you know, pursue this angle or this strategy with a client. So there is value, right? Now you take that and you bring it, you look at these students, and the students are coming in and they don't know AI, and they don't know how to use it, they don't know how to prompt, they ask very, you know, basic questions, and it actually frustrates partners and other leaders in the firm, because they're like you can't even ask the AI the right level of, and challenge it. So now they have to spend time teaching you that too. It makes it hard for them. So they would rather have students who understand how to use AI and deal with it. The schools, on the other hand, are pushing away because they're like, well, we can't we want to ban AI because students are the AI is doing the work for them.
Yeah.
But there are already solutions to all of that. You can have written exams.
Exam
You can
soft.
have there's exam soft. There's written exams. There's oral exams.
Yeah.
Right. They can change their evaluation model to react to AI. When you mentioned earlier that you took a vote in a class to use AI or not, but think about how you kind of weak that approach is. Because what they're saying to you is, okay, class, vote on whether you want to disclose the use of AI. Okay. In fact, I think it was Aboriginal law. Prof said, use AI, disclose where you used it. But the guidance around it
It's like it's all in your hands.
It's in your hands, but okay, if I use AI, are you going to judge me? To what degree am I allowed to? All it said was, if you use AI, disclose it. But you didn't tell me what the boundaries were. You didn't tell me, could I do research using AI and then validate for you that the cases that the AI surfaced are correct or not? What did I go through to? So there's no boundaries.
No structure.
Right? So when they get the class to vote, do you guys want to use AI? But in what way? Right? There's a difference between using AI for research and learning versus AI to generate an outline or to generate the paper and then you go and fix it. What are the boundaries? And the law schools are failing at that. They're not setting boundaries. And so people are scared of AI, especially for the plagiarism side.
Yes.
Right? You use anything to do with AI and God forbid you use an M dash now. Right, and I'm an old guy, right, with the Oxford comma, like I grew up doing. There's a dude in my firm who makes fun of me because I use the Oxford comma. Like that's just, I'm sorry.
What is the Oxford comma?
So you have multiple particles
Like
in a statement, and you're like,
paragraph.
there's this and
then
then this.
I do that.
And then you basically do comma and.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
whatever's next. There's no
Okay.
comma. And he makes fun of it. I'm like, dude, I'm old. Like, I use the Oxford comma and I shall forever. Well, guess what? AI likes to use Oxford commas too.
Oh, and then
So,
someone's going to think that it's not
did
your
I use
word.
exactly, right? I'm like, well, my defense is I know how to use AI and you can look at every single thing I've ever written and I can prove to you this is my right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty smart about that kind of stuff. But I think students who don't get that experience, they're going to be afraid to use AI.
Yeah.
They're not going to use it confidently. They're going to be, and ultimately, what's the effect on law schools? Organizations, law firms are going to stop hiring from law schools that are not adopting AI because the students that come out are not as good as the students at schools who do. So what does that do for your law school and your revenue and your enrollment?
Yeah, your ranking and all
Right?
that.
Like law schools got to catch up. And I think this fear of using AI in law, you're a law school. You've gone through technological revolutions before. You can figure this out. It's not hard.
That's fair.
But they need to definitely take a leadership role, and I just feel like they're not.
Taking that on the head on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for answering that question very detailed. I guess my next question would be, we spoke about possibilities of with how AI is going, and you linked it to like the living tree doctrine that we have here in Canada and the Constitution, and possibilities of maybe future regulation that could help if in the event that AI is regulated at the provincial or a federal level. What industries do you think might be hit hardest when it comes to AI regulation? And do you see work in that area, like a new area of law of work for lawyers? So for example, lawyers like you who are interested, well, future you who's interested in AI and law, there's now like a whole opportunity. It's no longer just corporate lawyers or criminal lawyers. There's now AI lawyers, for example. By AI lawyers, I mean human beings practicing in that field.
Absolutely. So federally, there is, Canadian government actually just announced its AI strategy, right, to make AI accessible. And there's a lot of emotional pushback by society on this, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is AI has already been here for years. It's already embedded in trading systems, financial services. You apply for a credit card, AI is being used to determine your credit score and pull data together and make some of the surface potential options and decisions, right? The decisions being made by a human, but it's being supported by AI. I wrote a paper earlier in my law school career about the use of AI in courts. And there was some research around judges who would watch Sunday Night Football,
Yeah.
and their team would lose. And on Monday, they would come
Everyone
into the
gets the
court,
burnt.
and they would all right. The sentences were longer. They were disproportionate. And they correlated.
They're
all.
acting on their emotions.
So they're acting on their emotions. And then when you look at the philosophies of certain law, what is truth, right? Truth, the ultimate truth is all, the access to all information, right? So if you were able to provide you look at a federalized system like Canada where, case law is created every day, right? Does a judge in one province know about a case that maybe, occurs provincially or even federally in another part of, in another place?
The country, yeah.
If we were able to surface that for a judge, all information, all of the fines or all of the sentences, with these parameters, and give them the maximum amount of data to then make all of a sudden that disproportionate sentencing from one province to another starts to equalize, and now we're creating equality of application of law for everybody by leveraging technology. I think that's the value, right? We have a backlog of certain types of cases, right? Well, traffic tickets, could already leverage automation. They've got your license plate. They got you going through a light. Here's your ticket. Like, there's no arguing, and we can, right? And we don't have to take up a human's time to make a judgment on that, right? And there can be some checks and balances and audit.
Yeah.
So leveraging technology is not a bad thing, but we sort of need to kind of move in that direction. Every single industry that's related to human safety, health and safety, is going to get regulated and disrupted. So whether it's a credit card, whether it's a job, whether it's your health, healthcare is significantly going to get accelerated by AI. In fact, there's a lot of studies that show that, when you put certain information in front of an AI from a medical perspective, that AI is able to surface information about potential risks and diagnoses even more accurately than your GP. So there's nothing wrong with that. Leverage, I'd rather have a doctor who has access to an AI and all of the books and information and theories than one who focused, and didn't attend missed that class when, on that Saturday when they didn't attend in medical school. So this can all help, right? The balance is where the decisions get made. You don't want the AI necessarily to make the decision authoritatively without human intervention where there's a health and safety risk. And I think that's where a lot of the regulation is going.
Okay.
Also around manipulating human behavior, right? We've seen cases where AI has been used to profile individuals to a level that can be manipulated, especially geopolitics and, kind of the social sphere. I think guardrails around that, especially younger folks, need to be put in place. And these are all the things that are emerging, I think, in regulation. But ultimately, there's this underlying current of people not liking AI because they think they're getting replaced, or data centers taking up too much. But you know what? It's it's already here. You've got self-driving cars. You've got AI is being used everywhere, and it's becoming an issue of national security, and it's not a joke.
Or international security at this point.
Yeah, imagine all of these companies that Canadians depend on for AI frontier models, and the Googles and the Microsofts and the Claudes. And what happens if the U.S. government or whoever decides to push a button and say we're not exporting this technology to Canada anymore? Imagine what disruption would occur to all of these industries, banks and everything that are already using AI.
Yeah.
If they lose access to that AI, it's going to be disruptive.
Yeah.
So the federal government has recognized that AI is being used in military and defense applications and intelligence and things like that. And so they are now investing in data centers, rightly or wrongly, right? There's the environmental impact and all those kinds of things that we have to think about. But they're investing in that technology because they need to secure sovereign AI within our border, so we have some control over it, at least even physically. Even if the investment in a data center is being made by a foreign entity,
At least
fine.
we have something to
we have the
fall back
ability
on.
to kick out any foreign entity because we physically have access to the power and the and the utilities that power that data center. So this is it's a fundamental issue to our future. If you believe in the premise that AI is a disruptive, evolutionary revolution. Just like the Industrial Revolution, if we didn't invest in the steam engine and in railroads,
Yeah.
we would have been left behind.
Yeah.
We are at that same issue with AI. It's not just yet another tech. This is so...
It's a pivotal situation for the world. Like an
your
entity.
phone, everything we do is tied to AI in some way. And we need to kind of secure that. And so I think people need to kind of come to terms with the fact that this is our world and it's not going to go away, that it's already, the cat's out of the bag. You kind of hear that? That's where we are.
All right. So let's switch gears now to talk about the ethical use of AI. How can we promote the ethical use of AI in the current legal space with new lawyers coming in and also with already established lawyers taking up on AI?
Yeah, so we have this concept of, it's called human-centric AI.
Yeah.
The EU AI Data Act started with this premise that AI should be applied and developed in a way that promotes the values, they call it the values of the European Union, equality, and they point at the UN for all of its development priorities, right? And so in that perspective, the human-centric AI puts certain boundaries on, and the European Union was very definitive about, you can't use AI to manipulate people, you can't use AI to profile or racially profile or to do anything that you would require consent for, like recording and using a video and manipulating a person outside of their area of autonomy. That AI should be used to help, not hurt.
Yes.
So they were very definitive about that. Prior to that, the US had come out with some guidelines, and then those were sort of sidelined because there is a commercial reality around AI, and this has sort of been the argument against the European Union's approach to AI, is that in the path of trying to create safe, human, ethical AI, they've created barriers to commercialization of AI, and European companies are being held back because of the regulation, whereas US companies potentially can outperform now and can take the lead because this is becoming almost like we call the AI arms race. Canada kind of took a bit of a middle ground approach, and now they're starting to develop guidelines around safe AI. So I think that's happening. But this has been the issue with technology and any sort of thing that countries try to race around, nuclear power, things like that. It's, you got to get to market first, you got to kind of create capability, and then you got to be able to provide the guidelines. Because if you don't make it commercially attractive, then all the investment's going to go overseas. Yeah. Right, and companies are going to go somewhere where it's friendly. We see that in crypto, we see that in blockchain. A lot of companies are moving to the Middle East because the regulatory is either not well defined in Canada and the US, or Canada, in this case, we're kind of behind the curve. Yes. US is starting to lead in that space, and so, but they're seeing the effect of it, right? Okay. So I think in the legal space, lawyers need to understand what is ethical AI, especially if you're doing things like contract law and there's going to be AI involved in your contract. You've got to be able to understand, how do you ensure that who you're contracting with, you're able to impose legal structure and liability and responsibility and accountability for ethical AI, and what terms do you need to be? I think that's a key piece that is going to become more important, and you're going to see it more and more. In fact, I see it in contracts that we're looking at around any companies that are going to be using AI to process, let's say, our clients' data, things like that. We're definitely kind of focused on privacy and on the AI processing, but the gap is the lack of legislation is causing
so everyone's just
which law applies. That's kind of the issue. So we got to see that resolved as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking with us today about AI and how it's evolving in the legal space. My last question for you today will be, if someone who's a law student watching this, or already an experienced lawyer who has no experience with AI whatsoever, what is one specific AI platform? And I'm not saying you should recommend anything. For example, NotebookLM is specific in its way. ChatGPT is different. Claude is different. But what is something that you think is friendly to new users of AI who are interested in learning how to play with the system and to their own advantage?
So for law students,
yes,
I'm a big fan of NotebookLM. For law students, I would recommend NotebookLM. it is a fabulous platform. It's got kind of a
agree.
student plan, so it can accommodate things like, in fact, that was one of my hacks.
I use it too.
Being able to do podcasts, of my materials, listening to that on the way in, listening to that, on the way out from work or to school, being able to create mind maps, being able to interact with it and have it teach. It's built really good. It's a good learning platform that leverages AI. You got to be able to prompt it well.
Yes.
One of the tricks I was mentioning, actually, somebody earlier today, is use the AI to help you build the right prompt. So put in your prompt, but before you push go, ask the AI to evaluate this prompt and identify how to make it better for your objective. And all of a sudden it will become, tell it you're a prompt engineer and, change this to make it even more effective. And all of a sudden it will give you a better, structured prompt, and then use that.
Better answers.
And you're going to get better answers, you're going to get better quality, you're going to feel the value, right? Claude is great for doing, if you want a kind of an alternate, but it can, depending on what plan you get, a little bit expensive. Potentially, if you're at a master's level, it might be worth it because it does have a significant amount of depth. And then the other one I would consider is Perplexity, which has a cheaper plan, but has the ability to also import a lot of your sources, can do web search, can grounds everything in that it produces in an answer with the source, which is really important because that's the one thing that I think everybody needs to learn is how do I validate that what the AI told me is correct?
Yes.
Right? And not only just that it gave you a link, go check the link, go
Make
read.
sure that the thing is real.
Read the part, right? Because it's one thing for an AI to tell you, I got this information from this source. It's another thing to confirm that the AI interpreted it properly.
Yeah.
I actually had that issue occur with an AI that I was working with in my firm. Gave it some case law and said, analyze this. And I knew the case, and its answer was wrong. Like it interpreted it the wrong way. It found the right case, referenced it the right way, showed me the actual case, but when it went to interpret what I was asking it, the doctrine, it got it backwards. And so then I had to kind of correct it, and then, so you still need to check.
You still need your brain. You still need your brain.
Yes, you've got to apply judgment.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Amin, for
Pleasure.
sitting with us through this long videos that we've had today, for sharing your experiences, talking about AI and the importance of AI and today's world, especially for lawyers. I really appreciate your time today.
Sure.
If you have any questions for anyone who's been watching all through our videos, leave them down in the comment section. I will not be the first person to answer the questions for AI, but I can always send them to Amin.
You know where I am.
I'm like, Amin, this is for you. I don't know what's going on. But let us know in the comment section, and be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I post my videos. And I will catch you all in the next one. Say bye, Amin.
See you later.
Bye.
Check out my LinkedIn. I
Yes.
publish a lot of thought leadership
Yes.
around
I'll put your LinkedIn
AI
link.
and
I'll put
things
your
like
link
that.
and your picture and everything, and you can read all his AI articles and
Yep.
everything.
If you want to nerd out,
Right.
that's the place.
That's where. And then if you have questions too, just send them to him. Send them to him. All right. Bye,
Peace.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.